In this video, you will learn how to classify and measure angles, as well as how to create angles. So to begin, we first must know the term ray. Now, a ray has a specific starting point and goes forever in one direction. So here we see it starts at point A, and then it's going forever to the right. So it goes through point C, and it goes forever in that direction. So this would be called ray AC. And with the notation, we can write this as AC, and then write a ray symbol above it. Now take note that when you're writing a ray, that the endpoint must be named first, meaning that this would not be the same thing as ray CA, because ray CA would indicate that we're starting at C and going to the left through point A, which is not accurate, right? We're starting at point A, going through point C to the right. So a ray, again, has a specific starting point and goes forever in one direction. Now, angles would be two rays put together. So it's a figure formed by two rays with a common endpoint. So something like this right here. So we have two rays, and they both start at point A, like this. So the two rays are called the sides. So we have ray AC, that'd be one side, and then ray AB would be the other side. And then the common endpoint right here, this point A, is shared with both rays. That is called the vertex. And this term of vertex you'll see in many different contexts as well. So it's basically whenever a shape starts changing direction. So like if you had a different shape, like a triangle, for example. So like here, this point, and this point would all be a vertex, or plural would be vertices. You wonder how it's spelled. Plural is vertices, spelled like that. So the word vertex you'll see here in this context with angles, but you'll see it again later in other contexts as well. Now, when you're naming angles, we want to always have this endpoint in the middle of our naming. So we have to use the 3 points, or any 3 points on the angle. So we have here angle CAB is one way to write this. We write a little angle symbol next to it. We have a point from this side, point C. We have the vertex, this common endpoint here in the middle, point A, and then B is the point on the other side. Now you can write this as angle CAB, or angle BAC would also work, as long as the endpoint is here in the center. So this would not be the same thing as angle ACB, because here the middle letter is not the vertex like it's supposed to be. So it cannot be angle ACB, cannot be angle ABC, would not work. So there's different ways we cannot write this. The only way we can write this is with the vertex here in the center. Now with angles, we have different types of angles. So the first type is what we call an acute angle. An acute angle is a small angle with a measure between 0 and 90 degrees. So that'll look something like this right here. So this would be an acute angle. Now a right angle has a measure of exactly 90 degrees. So if it's like this here, where it forms an L shape, that is a 90-degree angle, and that makes it a right angle. So an acute angle is smaller than 90 degrees. So this first one was acute because it's smaller than the right angle. Now an obtuse angle is an angle that's bigger than 90 degrees. So it's bigger than 90, so something like this. And then we have a straight angle. A straight angle creates a straight line that looks like this, and our angle measure would be 180 degrees. So this is twice the measure of a 90-degree angle. So if you put like two 90-degree angles together, one like here, so we have one here and then one over here, notice putting them together gives us a straight angle. So 90 plus 90 gives you 180, a straight angle has exactly 180 degrees. Now, a very common way of remembering the different types of angles is for acute, it looks like the word cute, right? If something is cute, you think of like something small, like a baby or a puppy, right? So an acute angle, you can think of a small angle, something small, looks kind of cute. All right, and then a right angle, I think most people tend to remember that pretty easily. But obtuse angle, that looks kind of like the word obese. So if someone is obese, that means they're overweight or large. So an obtuse angle is a large, or think of like a overweight, a big angle. So obtuse is big, acute is small or tiny, and then a straight angle is just a straight line. Now the question is, how do we know the exact measurement? So how do we know if it's 90 or 180 or 40 something, or how do we find the measure of an angle? Well, to do that, you need to have a protractor and know how to use a protractor. So there's different types of protractors as far as the way they look. Here's a picture of one. Yours might look a little bit different, but it's all the same concept. So to read a protractor, okay, if you're given an angle like this, what you do is you put the center right here, that little circle you see with the plus sign in the middle, you want to line that up right on this vertex. So you move it over, slide it onto the angle with that circle right on the vertex. And then we see, where does this other side go? All right, so we see here, we have numbers starting at 0, so like 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then we also have numbers going backwards, 180, 170, 160, 150, etc. All right, so here, this beginning point, this is like 0 degrees. So we start here at 0, work your way around. So we 0, 10, 20. Notice it falls right here on 30 degrees. So the measure of this angle would be 30 degrees. All right, here's another one where if you're given this angle and you're told to find the measure, again, we slide the protractor over like this, where the circle, the middle, is right here on the end point, this vertex. And then, by the way, this should be straight. See, like the black line at the bottom at 0, it should be straight along the bottom of this angle. All right, so can you tell me what is the measure of this angle? Well, we start here at 0. We go around, we see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20. It's actually not quite on 130. It's right before 130. So if you had to estimate, that looks like it's about 129 degrees. It's right before 130. So we'll call that 129 degrees. All right, so that's how you read a protractor. Okay, make sure you get everything lined up and then see where it falls on these numbers up here. Now, the last part is, how do you create an angle with a specified measure? So for example, if you're told to create a 50-degree angle, what would you do? Well, it's basically kind of the same idea as reading an angle, reading the measure. We want to create two different rays. So we have the endpoint right here on the center. So we create a ray. So we see here this red line. You make the center lined up with that center part. And then we draw the other side to make sure it goes through this 50-degree mark. So we see here 50 degrees. That would be this line right there, right? 0 degrees, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We want the other side to go through that 50-degree mark. So we draw it like this right there. All right, so that would be a 50-degree angle. Now what about a 160-degree angle? How would you draw this? So again, create the bottom part of your angle. So create one ray. And then put your protractor, make sure it's lined up where the center is here on the end point. And then draw your other ray for the other side. So make sure it goes through the 160-degree mark. So we see if this is 0, we go around this way. We want numbers getting bigger, so 10, 20, 30, 40. Keep going, all the way over here is 160, right? So we want the ray for the other side to go through that measure. That would give us this angle right here. So this red angle would be 160 degrees. Let's try another one. We have a 45-degree angle. So for this one, again, we want to create our bottom. So create our ray like this, and then put your protractor on it like this, where the center is on that end point, and then draw another ray that goes through the 45-degree mark. So if this is 0 degrees, we're going around this way, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. 45 would be right here, right between 40 and 50. So we want the other ray to go through that part of the protractor. So we draw a line going through there, and that gives us our 45-degree angle. Let's take a look at one more. We have a 115-degree angle. So again, for this one, we draw the bottom. So we draw the ray like this. And then we need to draw the other side of this as well. So we need to put the protractor on like this once we have that first part created. Make sure the center is on the end point like that. And then from here we draw a second ray to get the other side of the angle, and it has to go through the 115-degree mark. So if this is 0 degrees, that's 10, 20, 30, 40. Over here we see 110, 120. 115 is right here in the middle. So I guess if you're doing this, by the way, on paper, you would probably create a little tick mark like that, because you can't really draw through the protractor. Just create a tick mark up here, and then move your protractor, and then get a straight edge. Connect that to this point right there, and then we get this ray. So this would be an angle that is 115 degrees. So in this lesson, we learned about different types of angles. We learned how to measure angles, and we also learned how to create an angle. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.